Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 build video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Revenant. Yesterday, in one of my fever dreams, I was like, you know what, I've never made a Revenant build, nor have I ever played a Revenant build that does not utilize an elite spec, nor the invocation trait line. So I wanted to challenge myself today and have some fun where I just use the trait lines that are associated with the legends themselves, excluding the elite specs. So, I've had a lot of fun with this build. I don't think that this is meta by any means, but if you are looking to have some fun at all and just try something that you haven't to keep yourself interested if you need to, then I implore you to watch along or just, have this in the background. So let us open up the build tab and let's talk about the PvP equipment first. This is more of a power focused build. It's not condition, though I might make a condition oriented one after this one. So I'm using Paladin Amulet and Rune of the Fighter. I'm using double swords, dual swords, and a staff, taking Sigil of Purging, Sigil of Cleansing, and Sigil of Purging and Sigil of Cleansing on both weapons. Let's go over to the build. Okay, so for the build, I am taking, this is where you see, I'm taking Salvation, Retribution, and Devastation. The trait line associated with Legendary Centaur, Legendary Dwarf, and Legendary Assassin. So let's talk about it. For the Salvation trait line, I'm taking Blinding Truths, blind nearby foes when you use a healing skill. I never take this when I'm running support, but it's actually pretty okay when you're taking more damage oriented. I'm taking Resilient Spirit, periodically gain barrier for each unique boon you have. This allows you to gain some extra defenses. We're not necessarily going to be applying a lot of boons to ourselves, but, it's better than nothing, and sometimes your allies will splash boons to you. And finally, I'm taking Unyielding Devotion. Take less damage for a short duration after healing. Lasts longer if you heal an ally other than yourself. While I'm using Staff, I am going to get some benefit out of this, though in a solo playstyle, if I'm doing a 1v1, this is still nice just to have some reduced damage. It's always nice to bolster your defenses. Next, Retribution associated with my Legendary Dwarf stance, which I am taking. I'm taking Spiritual Reckoning, gain retaliation when you use an elite skill.
What has become of the Empire in my absence?
Hello, Shiro.
They say Cantha expelled all non-humans and closed.
We're going to Cantha, End of Dragons.
I hope to find out one day.
I'm very much excited about that. Thanks for the interruption, guys. But I'm taking Spiritual Reckoning, gain retaliation when you use an elite skill. I've also thought about close quarters if you really want to, and there happens to be a lot of long range stuff going on. But if I were not to take Spiritual Reckoning, I would be taking Planner Protection for the weakness and missile projectile destruction. Next, I'm taking Dwarven Battle Training for increased damage, and also disabling a foe applies weakness. It's always nice. I would also take Eye for an Eye, or retaliatory evasion to get extra boons, to get more out of the Resilient Spirit trait. So the whole middle line is kind of up to your own discretion. And then finally, I'm taking Steadfast Rejuvenation, heal every second for each point of upkeep currently in use. This is just more supportive, more, ready to keep yourself up. I also wouldn't mind taking Vicious Reprisal if you are comfortable with your own self-sustain and you happen to master this in any way and you want more damage. But for a little bit more sustain, I'm taking Steadfast Rejuvenation. Finally, for Devastation, I'm taking Unsuspecting Strikes for a bit of a damage increase on the initial attacks. I was playing with Aggressive Agility, but I haven't gotten it to work well where I'm comfortable. I might mess around with it some more, of course. And then next, I'm taking Thrill of Combat. Gain stacks of battle scars while in combat. So this will allow you to siphon some health, of course. Does it say what battle scars does? Oh, it does over here. So you siphon some health and, you know, get a little bit of healing. And then finally, I'm taking a trait which I very rarely use on Devastation. This is Brutality. Gain quickness when you swap weapons. That in and of itself is really nice. And while you have quickness, your strikes remove stability. I very rarely take this, but I actually love traits that are dedicated to specific areas, such as this stability remover. It's a stability removal trait. It's not a trait that affects all boons, but specifically stability. And I actually think that more traits should do this. But brutality, I've actually grown to like it. If not brutality, I would take Dance of Death for extra health. But so far, I'm pretty comfortable with brutality. So yeah. I'll talk more about the build in the gameplay section, but I am taking Legendary Assassin and Legendary Dwarf. Enchanted Daggers is really great for a little bit extra damage. I've been using Phase Traversal more often than not. Impossible Odds I typically used to get around, and then Jade Winds is a nice elite for a stun and a disabling. I always use Vengeful Hammers, and I've been using Forced Engagement and Inspiring Reinforcements when applicable. Right at the Great Dwarf, I've also been using more often, just to get some more defenses. Okay, now that I've gone over the build and stuff, let's go on to some gameplay, and I'll talk about some of the gameplay that I captured. So, went on over there. Okay, everyone. So I'm here. We're going to be watching some gameplay. This very first one, I just want to show that I'm using Impossible Odds mainly to get around. I come in and lead with the Death Strike. This one, spoiler alert, this fight does not go so well. I wanted to focus down this Elementalist, and then I realized that Elementalist was very tanky, and then my friend went down, and I kind of panicked. So I tried to Inspiring Reinforcements, but it wasn't enough. What I probably should have done was do that, swap to Assassins and then Jade Winds, hopefully to remove some stability and interrupt. And then they went down, my other teammate went down, and then I was kind of screwed. I was the only one here. I was like, oh no, what do I do? So this one didn't end up so well. But yeah, you might get a little overwhelmed with this because you're not really familiar, or at least I'm not familiar, without having Invocation and an Elite spec to kind of fall back on. And it's kind of sad that Invocation feels necessary in almost every situation. Here I just Death Strike right onto the guy and dodge it, get the Necro down. I look to the left, I see the Elementalist. I'm not worried about this Necromancer. My next goal is to help get down this Elementalist, and he is quite tanky, so I get a successful Jade Winds. That applies some weakness. I go into some Unrelenting Assault. Try to get a mob off. It does work, though him being so tanky and with Barrier and the boon up time can be a little difficult. Thankfully, we managed to get him down quite quickly, just in the nick of time with this Warrior getting out. I get interrupted. I use Riposting Shadows to get out. But he does have Burning. Thankfully, I was able to interrupt, getting some more weakness. And then Unrelenting Assault to give myself a breather, give my skills like 2 seconds to cool down. Inspiring Reinforcements to get a clean stomp. You don't really need to do that with Elementalists or Mesmers because they don't really have control effects on their down skills, more just displacement of their own bodies. But, oh yeah, I never gave this one a name. I think I'm going to call this build the Channel. It was titled Crystal Bulwark, but I forgot to actually rename it. This one is a nice fight, a 1v1 on this Mesmer. I decided to use Rite of the Great Dwarf because he's using a great sword. He is not a condition build. If he was a condition build, I would not be using this because I'm not taking Versed in Stone. If you're taking Versed in Stone to help battle condition damage, go right ahead. But here, I'm trying to just survive as long as possible. We're both kind of evenly matched per se, but I'm also trying to line of sight him just a little bit. He gets the burning off of me. I'm trying. Oh, I really thought I was going to go down. Thankfully, I got the Versed in Stone off. Not the Versed in Stone, my Soothing Stone, the healing skill. I swapped to Assassin to kind of jump on him, and then I use this area to kind of line of sight him from his auto attacks. and then I jump in on him, getting some more quickness. I use my heal, and then I have enough energy to go and do Unrelenting Assault. With Revenant, I think it's really strange that its weapon abilities seem to use so much energy, and not taking invocation, it's really hard to manage your weapon energy and your utility energy. And yeah, it's just kind of sad that you need invocation and or an elite spec to kind of do anything with Revenant or feel like you can do anything. But as I kind of show in this, it can be done. It's not the easiest. It takes some getting used to. I managed to run away and not get immobilized, and then I Unrelenting Assaults onto the Elementalist. Thankfully, the majority of the strikes landed on him. I Jade Winds to kind of lock down the Guardian. I don't know what utility he's running. I don't know if he's running a Signet. I didn't look. I didn't know if he was going to pop a Sanctuary and start rezzing, so I wanted to just interrupt him. Here, I managed to taunt, and you will see in some areas you can actually get a taunt, and it will be useful in terms of interrupting. I thought that the Reaper was going to go down, so I impossible odds over to Waterfall, but he does not go down, and I start hearing some fight with this Mesmer. So I Inspire Reinforcements. Thankfully, I just used my hammers to kind of bleed him down. Here's another instance of a taunt being useful. It requires him to come down, and thankfully the traps were placed there, so it did even more damage. Very serendipitous and nice. But overall, everyone, this is pretty much the build. I've really enjoyed playing this. I'd love to see or read any comments to help me improve, or what you guys think about this build, your thoughts on Revenant in general, aside from like invocation and its elite specs. How do you feel like the base legends are in the game? Here's just like a little exit clip of me fighting this Necro. I almost went down, but thankfully the match ended soon. But in all, I really enjoy this build. I have all my links down below if you'd like to go support me on Patreon and get early access and exclusive access to some videos. I have a PayPal, I have a Twitch, where I'll be streaming on Friday and the weekends. I also have a Discord down below, so all of the above. I believe in you guys. You guys got this, and I hope you guys have a nice, safe time. Enjoy. Bye, everyone.